Okay, there we go. So we should be
Yep,
streaming.
I can see us.
Yep. All right. This may not last long,
No.
but at least for the moment we are live. So for anybody out there that is watching, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Hello.
I'm having some internet difficulties on my end. So I apologize in advance if it's choppy or whatnot. And it looks frozen. I think we're frozen.
My camera's really delayed.
All right, there we go. Yeah, it looks like it's okay. Oh, maybe not. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's just delayed. But I think we're good, at least for the moment.
Yep.
Just kind of monitor, keep one eye over on your monitor device, so let me know. I'm going to try to pay attention to it too. But for anyone new here, I am Kanan Becker. I am the host of Ghost Pirate Entertainment. And this to my left is Kit Tinsley, the host of Everything Beer.
Good evening.
Exactly, because it is evening where he is over in the
It
UK,
is, yeah.
and it is midday here where I'm at in California. So, the reason we are here is because we both dropped videos this week of our top 10 female horror villains of all time, which to me is a very sadly underdeveloped theme in horror movies. I feel like we could have so many more amazing female villains, and we don't. What is your thoughts on that?
Oh, I agree completely. I was telling a friend of mine about the list, and he struggled to think of any.
Yeah, exactly. Especially in just horror. Like when I started thinking about it, I was like, oh, well, I had Cruella de Vil and the
Yeah.
Snow White, Queen Snow White, all these different ones like that. But I was like, well, in horror, like how can there be so many of them in all these other genres, but not that many in horror?
That's right.
It's very, very odd. But there are some really brilliant ones. And so today we're going to kind of talk about the ones we're going to kind of go down our list and talk about the ones we had in common that we agreed on and the ones that we disagreed, or not disagreed, but just had differently on this list. And even though I joked about it in my video, there will be no fighting here.
No.
And no fighting in the comments either.
Wrong side.
This is, yeah. This is all about horror can be fun, so there's no fighting. Anyway, okay, so without further ado, why don't you start off with your number 10?
Okay, well, my number 10 was the female Cenobite from Hellraiser and Hellbound.
Such a great one. I loved her. I definitely debated on putting her. The only reason I didn't is because she just doesn't have a huge role.
No. I mean, but then, you'd be tempted to put Pinhead in a top 10 male villains or villains, and he's on screen about as much as she is.
In the original, but I mean, as far as in Hellraiser lore, Pinhead becomes like he is the lead Cenobite.
He is. Although, interestingly, in the original book, the lead Cenobite was female. Pinhead was female.
And that right there just goes to show you the whole thing we're talking about, that there's just not enough female villains. Because I can guarantee you the reason they didn't is because they just didn't think fans would be as receptive to a female lead as they would a male lead. Like, not feel as intimidated or whatever when they were producing
That's right.
At least that's my guess.
As I said in my video, the female Cenobite is the only other one who actually speaks in the first two movies. And she's always at Pinhead's side. And I sort of get the impression that she's like his second in command.
Definitely. It would be really cool to see, like I've always wanted to see a more behind the scenes, like a movie that just focuses more on the Cenobites and more on that world and flesh that out more.
Yeah.
But it would be really cool to see one that spotlights her and kind of shows you, who she is. Because, I mean, I just think in general, you could do a whole movie around any one of the Cenobites in a lot. Oh, no, you froze.
He played in... Oh, no,
okay.
I'm still here.
Yeah, you're back. What was that you said?
Barbie Wilde, who played her in the second film in Hellbound. She's an author now. And she wrote a story for the Hellbound Hearts collection, which was a load of short stories set in the Hellraiser universe.
Oh, wow.
And her short story was a backstory for the female Cenobite.
That's really cool. I never even heard about that. Do you know where you can find those?
They're on Amazon. You can get them as ebooks or you can order it.
So they're short, but are they... You said they were short.
Yeah, they're short.
Are they all part of like one?
It's a collection of short stories, but they're all Hellraiser lore sort of thing.
That's very cool. All right,
and
so
it's about
I'm sorry.
Cenobite.
Very cool. Well, I'm gonna need to check that out. All right, so I'm trying to not ramble on too long on them. I just thought about it. I was like, probably keep this going a little. Okay, so especially if we get cut off. All right, so my number 10 is Martha Allenby from She-Wolf of London. And she's always been just a very interesting character to me. And the first horror that I fell in love with really was classic horror.
Yeah.
And so, like, even though on my channel I don't talk about the classic horror that much, it's really where my love of horror stems from. Like, I mean, for years I would go to bed every night watching a different classic horror movie. And I remember probably about 7 or 8 years ago, maybe more, I got this big collection of like 50 of the greatest, horror movies, from black and white horror movies, basically. And I think that was when I discovered this, or when I got the Wolfman box set. Either way, I just loved this movie, and it's one that I never hear anybody talk about. Like, and I understand why it doesn't have like a real cool looking scary werewolf in it, and you know what I mean? It doesn't have a lot of those things that people love. But as far as a movie and character development, it's actually a really, really good movie. And she just, to me, is just her betrayal.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I guess, an overriding theme, I think, with my list in general. That it kind of got me thinking about is just that motherly figure betrayal.
Yes.
And she kind of epitomizes that.
Yeah, I think that is an important factor in a lot of the female villains.
Yeah. Like, have you seen She-Wolf of London?
Many, many years ago, to be honest. I don't remember an awful lot about it, but it's one I want to look up again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good, as far as like the old classics, it's a good one. It's beautifully shot and like in a really cool location, and this big old Victorian house. All right, so what is your number 9?
My number 9 was Rose from Get Out.
I was very torn on her. I think a lot of the reason I didn't go with her is just because it's such a new movie.
Yeah.
And like with lists like this, I struggle to do really new ones because I'm like, is it just kind of my excitement still of this character? Like, for instance, when I did my top 10 female heroines, I struggled with it because I had a lot of like You're Next and Ready or Not, like these girls. And I ended up doing it and saying screw it and did it anyway. But it's hard because I'm like, am I just still excited and kind of a prisoner of the moment, or is it really But I mean, I think you're right either way.
Because in mine, in my heroines ones, I put Becky in, didn't I? So that I'd literally watched the night before, but it was just such a good film.
But that's why I think you're right. Actually, I mean, I think Becky is one that is criminally underwatched right now. People are not talking about that movie enough. It is so brilliant, and I think it will get a cult following at some point. And I think she's gonna be one of those figures. You're gonna see animation, like cartoons and drawings and all this fan art stuff of before too long.
Yeah, but going back to Rose, I think again, it's the betrayal, isn't it? It's that element of it. It's that she's luring, because there are quite a few villains in the film Get Out. The whole family are villainous, but she's the one that's actually luring people there. So.
And she's the one still standing at the end too, where it's like it begins and ends with her. Yeah. You realize, like, at the end, she's kind of that backbone of the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because she's the one that really kind of keeps it going, and even after her parents and everybody's basically dead, like the desire to continue with this crime and what they do or whatever is still in her. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But I 100% agree. Like, I felt the betrayal from, that's why I think you're right. I think should have been on my list too. Is she just the amount of betrayal that I felt. Like, I felt like I could empathize so much. Like, I mean, I've been there and feeling like, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, when you see a character, you really feel like you're in that body of that person, and you can really feel the moment. Like, at the end of that movie, at least for me, I think of most people, because of how popular it was, I'm guessing, but, like, for me, I literally felt like I was with him, running from her, and then for not only fighting for your life, but just that feeling of turmoil inside of, this is the woman I love. You know what I mean? Like, it happens so fast. It's like he's barely getting used to the idea that this woman he loves betrayed him, that he's also having to, like, literally run for his life at the same time and fight her and kill her.
That's right.
It's beautifully It's like, really is a masterpiece. Masterfully done.
It is.
Jordan Peele, man. True genius.
Yeah.
You know?
He is.
Like, I hear a lot of people be like, oh, he's overhyped. I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, he hasn't done a lot yet, but... Oh, no. I think we lost you. So I think... Okay, we're back. We're back. We froze there for a second, but we're back. So, apologies. Like I said, this is going to be a little rough at times. Okay, so... Because of that, let's keep moving. So mine is Angela Baker, is my number 9. And I picked Angela Baker more for the love of her in the horror community than so much that she was really this amazing, you know, female villain. Because she's not even really a villain in my mind in that movie. Like, just barely. Because she's very much that Carrie kind of figure, where you sympathize with them as much as you're like, yeah, they're a killer, but it, you know, I feel bad for them. Like, I understand why or whatever. But she is she is on the Mount Rushmore in a lot of ways of horror, of the female horror icons because of her work that she's done with the fans and continually for years and years and years going to conventions and being so gracious and being involved in just horror movies in general. So that's why, you know, I put her on my list. Yeah,
that's completely understandable.
But I don't think most people think it's like this amazing horror movie. It's just a fun ride. You know, Sleepaway Camp is not, it's not considered like one of the greatest horror movies by any means.
No, I mean...
You know? So that's why I wanted to explain
it's cheesy,
why.
But it's fun, isn't it?
Exactly. It's one of those ones that really epitomizes that fun, campy 80s thing. You know, that it's like...
Absolutely.
It's just fun. Like, you don't get super invested. You don't care when people die. You're not feeling sad, or it's just this fun, like a cartoon almost, you know?
Yeah.
And, like, I love that. I love that stuff. All right, what's your number 8?
Number 8 is actually Carrie White. As you say, it was kind of hard to make her on the list, as she's as much a victim, really. What with her mum and all the bullies and everything, but she does kill a lot of people in a very brutal way.
Yep.
So,
no, you're 100% right. I mean, if we have a serial killer running around that you're like, you can understand everything and why they're doing what they do, but it doesn't change the fact that they're going around killing people. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that's still a problem. So, no, I completely, I almost put it on my list, but you understand why, like, especially with the one that I have as my number 1, why I couldn't put her. So any other things you want to say about her, though? Yeah. Anything else you wanted to say about Carrie, though?
I still think, you know, Brian De Palma's original film is just fantastic, and I think Sissy Spacek plays the part so well.
Genius.
Like, really fragile and broken for the majority of the film, and then so powerful and terrifying when she lets rip.
I know, and even though we've had other decent Carrie movies, like, they don't hold a candle to me, to the original. The scene that I used in my video, I had to watch it numerous times while I was editing, and it's the one where she's talking to her mom at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
and there's just the candlelight, and the mom throws the drink in her face, and it is just such a powerful scene.
Yeah.
And I personally have actually been in Carrie's shoes, like exactly had that, except for in my case, it was tacos. It wasn't a drink, but it was tacos thrown into my face. But it was the exact thing of me pleading with my mom to be able to be normal and go and have friends and be able to go outside. And, you know, I wasn't even asking to go to a dance, you know what I mean? It was just literally for me just being able to go outside.
Yeah.
And so I experienced that exact moment. So to me, just she played it so well.
Yeah.
Because like I've literally been in those shoes exactly, so I know how it feels. And I swear to you, it looks like she's really experiencing that in that
definitely.
scene. It's like brilliant acting, but it gets me, man. It's hard for me to talk about that movie. All right, next for me is Esther Coleman from Orphan. Have you seen that movie?
Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Okay. It's so good. And it's so crazy too, the fact that it's a true story.
Yeah, that's right.
Like I've actually went and read about it, and like, I mean, it really is a true story. It's not like they Hollywoodized it or whatever. I mean, they of course added things to make it a movie, but as far as the basic premise of it, it is really what really happened. This lady, I think she was 31 or something like that.
Yeah.
She went and was adopted by this family and pretended to be a kid, and then they ended up finding out that she had been in an insane asylum and she was a woman in her 30s. And it just like ripped that family apart. But it's just such a chilling movie, and the little girl that plays her just does such a brilliant job, especially at the end. I mean, because it's one thing when she's playing a little girl, it's like, well, she is a little girl, so you know what I mean. But when at the end, when she becomes the woman and the makeup they put on her stuff, I mean, you'd swear this was really a 30-year-old little woman.
It's scary, isn't it?
Oh, I mean, can you imagine? Like, especially for the dad when she's like trying to seduce him and stuff.
Yeah.
Just, such a weird movie, but really good.
It is. They're doing a prequel, is it?
I heard it was a series.
Yeah.
Like, I heard there was a series in development for, I think it was Amazon Prime.
All right.
I don't know. I just heard something about this, though, but I'm trying to remember. Like, I hear, like, I'm trying to keep up with all the news.
Yeah, I know.
You know, of all these different movies, and there's so much news that's been coming out the last couple of weeks, like with Paramount, like the whole Paramount Plus drop. Like, have you heard all that?
No.
It's just crazy. When you get a chance, go and look up what Paramount Plus is planning, because they just dropped the platform.
Yeah.
And Paramount owns the rights to just like, I mean, tons, like probably almost half of all movies, like the big titles of everything.
Yeah.
And they're basically going to make a TV series or a remake of all of their major titles. I mean, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was just like, it was so many that I forget which ones, because it was just like tons of these huge titles of movies and TV shows and stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, losing track again. So what is your number 7?
Baby Firefly.
I was so pissed at myself for not including her on my list, for forgetting about her. I was just like, but sorry. You explain why you wanted her on your list.
Well, I just think she's such a wonderful character. She's so insane and unpredictable. I mean,
oh no, we're losing you.
But I think Baby's probably the most. Oh, am I still there?
All right, you're good. It's just getting like choppy every now and then, but I think you're good. Although I think we froze on the feed. Shit.
Well, as I say, she's just such a crazy character. I mean, there's plenty of crazy characters in those films, but she seems to be the one that's the least in control.
Yeah, definitely. Like, she's the one that you would be like, well, for sure, she would get off on insanity in court.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Absolutely.
But I love how layered You know, how layered her character is.
Yeah.
You know, because there's fun in her, there's sadness in her, there's child, there's woman, like, you know what I mean? It's almost like multiple personalities.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know the joke is about Sherry Boone only being cast in her husband's films, but I just can't imagine anyone else playing Baby.
It's really a shame that she doesn't get more roles.
Yeah.
You know, I wonder why that is. I mean, maybe just because it's like, at this point, her and Rob are teammates, so it's like they're just going to work on this, you know? Because I can't imagine, at least in smaller roles, that she wouldn't get offers. No. You know? Because she's still very attractive, and, you know, like, especially in Witches of Salem, like, she does a hell of a job acting in that movie. Like, on your suggestion, I finally rewatched that movie just recently.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I had seen it when it first came out, but I don't know, man. I see so many movies. Like, I just forget a lot of movies. It's very strange. But for anyone that hasn't seen it, like, if you love her, you should definitely check that movie out.
Yeah. I mean, that's my favorite Rob Zombie movie. But yeah, Baby Firefly, absolutely brilliant.
Definitely. So our stream looks like it's choppy and stuff, but looks like it's still working. So for anybody out there,
let us know.
Let's see. We have got a couple comments. I didn't even notice finally. Okay, so Rachel Eastwood looks to be the only person, at least that's commenting. And she says, the female Cenobite in the first movie was Clive Barker's cousin. Interesting.
Grace Kelly.
I didn't know that. And then she says, I'd never even heard of She-Wolf until I saw the review. Well, that's good. I like to give a couple suggestions that people haven't seen.
Yeah, it's always
try. And then she said, "Get Out, for such a family-oriented premise, they don't seem to have a problem pimping out their daughter." Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That is true. But I also feel like so much of it is her, too.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like she was ever really pressured into it. I almost feel like, I mean, I know we're backing up to that movie, but I feel like she was good to go on it. Like, it was an idea that she wanted to do. In the movie, it didn't feel like she was brainwashed by her parents. Maybe she was. But to me, that character felt like she was enjoying being doing what she was doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
But I don't know. All right, so where were we at?
Your number 7.
Is it me?
Yeah.
My number 7. Samara Morgan from The Ring. And I know I probably should have put the original. And I get hate all the time because of my lack of, especially Asian movies. And I understand, and I believe that they are amazing, and I know that I've missed out on a lot of foreign movies over the years, but I have a really hard time reading the subtitles. So a lot of times, unless it's dubbed, even though I hate dubbed because it just feels weird, at least with dubbed, I can do it. But when it's subtitles, it's tough, man. A lot of times I'll have to rewatch a movie just to kind of figure out what I saw.
Yeah.
Especially when they put the subtitles so fast. Like, when it's movies where there's not a lot of dialogue, then it's not too bad for me. And it also depends on the day. Some days I can see better than others, but it's not just my vision though. I have really bad dyslexia, so I can't see the words very well, and then when they go on fast, my brain likes to reverse things. So anyway, just letting people know why. But anyway, so Samara is who I grew up on. You know what I mean? I didn't see Ringu first. You know what I mean? I have seen it. It is a great movie. But I saw The Ring. I mean, that was when I was a teenager when or early 20s when that came out. And it was just, like, you were the same age as me. Like, that movie was a huge deal.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, you basically put her 2, but you put it for Ringu, right?
Yeah. I did say that, in mind that really applies to both because they're quite similar. So,
Okay,
yeah.
well, if you want to talk about her for yours, then we might as well both talk about her at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what were your memories as far as the movies? When did you see them and stuff?
I saw the original first. I saw the Japanese one first, but I remember watching it late at night on my own, and it was the first time I'd ever seen a Japanese horror movie, and there is something otherworldly about them, isn't there?
There is,
and it's as a character, just the way she moved.
Yep.
The idea of her coming out of the TV and all that weird torn out nails and everything. Oh, just it rang every bell of freaking me out, really.
Definitely. It sticks with you.
Yeah.
There's a certain movies, I think you have to see them when you're still fairly young, I think, for them to stick with you that way. But when you're still fairly young, at least young in horror movies, and there's these certain movies that they just stick with you for your whole life. And
yeah,
she's one of those characters that, for me, it was the scene when she comes through the TV in the ring. But,
yeah.
Just the movement, the way she looked, just that whole idea. And the thing is, for younger people, they're dealing with streaming and Blu-rays and DVDs or whatever. They don't remember how, that world we lived in where you would copy everything onto VHS tapes. Everybody had lots and lots of VHS tapes, and especially copied ones. And it wasn't a weird thing for someone to give you a copy of a VHS that would have masking tape and the name written on the side, or you know what I mean?
Yep.
I mean, I remember back then being in a band, and we would mail, if we did a music video or even a video of us playing live, we would mail copies on VHS to people. I don't know, I think you would have had to been at that time for that movie to kind of get you the same.
Yeah. I think it doesn't, if you didn't have VHS, it probably wouldn't have the same effect, but...
Yeah, I think it's in 20 years, the movie host that we just... There he is.
I'm back.
All right, he's back.
Yep.
Back, Jack. All right. So, what number was Samara on your list?
On my list, she was at number 4.
Number 4? Okay. So then, I guess we'll just skip number 4 for you when we get there. But so you would be at number 6 now, right?
I would.
Okay, so go ahead with your number 6.
Pamela Voorhees.
We both had Pamela, but I had her a little higher. 2 things. Why didn't you have her higher? I'm not judging you. I'm just curious. And then also, why in general is she on your list in general? So, what are those 2?
Okay, well, probably the reason she's not higher is I am not a fan of the Friday the 13th franchise.
They're not quality movies.
The first one I do like. The second one I like. And that's about it.
Yeah.
So that's probably the main reason she's not as high up as she is on yours. But she's on there because it's just a great character, isn't it? I think the notion of a parent losing a child being the motivation for a slasher movie is one of the most understandable and relatable, probably.
And she's so mental in that movie too. The actress does such a good job of really conveying that she's been broken from losing her kid.
Yeah.
Her mind, and she's got no more morals. She's got no more nothing.
Yeah, but initially she seems like one of the nicest people in the film, doesn't she?
Uh-huh. Then, that's the other thing that makes her great, is just that Jekyll and Hyde switch on you that, I mean, I don't think very many people sadly get to see that movie without already knowing.
No.
I think it's so huge in our pop culture. Everybody knows, that she's the killer. But I can only imagine
The way she walks around talking in her dead son's voice to herself, and
yeah, I don't remember if I knew before I saw it. I'm pretty sure I knew that she was the killer in the first one when I first saw it, but I'm not sure. But either way, it's definitely a great twist.
It is. It is, definitely.
Yeah. So she's on my list too. She's my number 4. So I might as well talk about her too. I just, like I said in my video, she's the mother to me of the left butt cheek. That's a little saying that my sister and my friends have. It's like when something that is connected to you, it's like connective tissue. It's so important. You take that away and you're missing like half of yourself, you know?
Yeah.
But Jason is such a pillar in the horror industry. And it's like, to me, I'm not a big fan of the movies. I'm a huge fan of Jason.
Yeah.
You know, I love his kills. I love the creativity that are involved in his kills. I love all the different masks and the way he looks. He just looks like just a total savage.
Yeah. I agree with that.
But I agree, the movies suck. Like I've never understood people that fight trying to defend them as these great movies. And that's also why I don't understand why more people don't like the 2013 one. Because as far as a quality of movie, that's one of the best.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it's actually scary. It actually has some decent, stuff going on in it. And like,
the other one I really like is Jason X, because it's more of a parody of the Friday the 13th franchise.
It is. I actually recently mentioned and got a little flack for it, but I agree. Jason X it's the most fun. It's probably the most fun of the franchise. And I like that it kind of, I don't think I would want the Friday the 13th franchise to go that direction, but at least for like a one-off to basically do like a Leprechaun.
Yeah.
Because that's what that was. It was very much like a Leprechaun feeling kind of movie where it was just, it accepted what it was, it accepted the cheese and the silliness of it and just leaned into that. Because I just literally rewatched it the other day when they dropped it on Netflix, and it's one of those movies that it's just like Freddy versus Jason. For all the flaws of that, it's another one that is fun to me. I have fun with it every time. And that's actually my issue with a lot of the earlier Friday the 13th movies, is they were rinse repeat. They literally, it was like the exact same movie for like 5 movies in a row. And they just really weren't good. It was like there was no characters you cared about. It was just another, let's see this summer who Jason's going to kill and how he's going to kill him. That was literally all it was. And it's just, as far as a movie, to me, they were not good.
No, and I don't think they had the tension that the first and the second one managed to get it as well.
Yeah.
They had the tension in the build-up to the kills. And I think that from 3 onwards, that kind of disappeared for a while. So
I do love 3, though. I think 3 is probably because it's the one I've seen the most. Because I remember growing up and watching the first 2 and being like, where's Jason? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And being told, well, 3, that's the one when you finally get to see Jason. So I remember as a kid watching that movie over and over because of that was when you finally saw Jason, like really, felt like you
had the hot mask,
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean by the real Jason. It's just he looked like Jason, he walked like Jason, like they'd finally developed that character. And it's really funny because you're 100% right. The first 2 movies are better movies.
Yeah.
And yet it wasn't until the 3rd when they finally figured out Jason.
Yeah.
So it's a shame that they couldn't have had that developed Jason and still this
anything else.
It is. And that's a shame. Because it's like if they had done the script and the quality acting and whatever, from the first 2, and then had Jason that develops Jason in it, they would have, I think they would have, and they would have probably been not considered such a cheesy, campy thing, but been taken more serious, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't know. You can say the same about a lot of these franchises. Like, there was these dead years, like through the 90s and the early 2000s. Like, they just stunk.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could say the same about Halloween. The
Definitely.
franchise definitely had its down.
And look at Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah,
There's some bad in there too. I mean,
oh god, yeah.
Hellraiser. Look how bad the Hellraisers got.
Even Nightmare on Elm Street, although it's my favorite.
Yeah,
The quality was variable,
especially for a few.
Yeah,
I think
overall,
Nightmare on Elm Street has done the best, though.
Yeah, I think it has the highest story content in all of them.
Yeah,
Even
for the big franchise, to me, the Nightmare on Elm Street has been the best. They're the ones that have always had Freddy from pretty much the jump. He was Freddy, and they've always tried to somehow give you a story.
Yeah,
even if the stories were not the greatest, it was still an attempt to give you a script. It wasn't just, let's see how Freddy's going to kill people again. It was like, they tried to be creative and unique and, Anyway, we were getting way off topic.
Oh,
I don't even know if we're streaming anymore. Are you able to see on your phone or whatever? Like,
I'll just check.
Okay, yeah, it looks like we're streaming again. But I think it's stopping and doing the loading thing, so I don't know. But worst case, I can take this and edit it, and repost it or something.
Yeah, we are still streaming.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I think we're having these big lulls where it's loading. Yeah. So if that's the case, I'll just kind of go in afterwards and cut it the best I can and maybe re-upload it so people get to check it out so we don't completely do this for nothing. All right, I forgot where we're at.
We're at number 5.
Oh, number 6 for me.
Oh, yeah.
Because I didn't do my number 6. So my number 6 is Julia Cotton from Hellraiser. And I feel like it's your number 5? Okay, that works out perfect. So she's on my list because I felt like she is always underrated.
Yeah.
I feel like she, in a lot of ways, is like her and Frank are the true villains of that movie.
Of Hellraiser, absolutely.
Yeah.
And like Julia is the true villain of Hellbound.
Yeah. But it's funny because everybody talks about the Cenobites and I understand because they look the scariest and whatever. But as far as the story, they're just doing their job.
Yeah, they're not actually villainous.
No. They're just scary-ass creatures, but they're not really villains. Like, the true villains is her and Frank. And, I mean, I guess Frank is what promotes her, I guess, to do it. I mean, he's the one from the jump who's the most evil, I guess. Yeah. But even still, she pretty easily... Like, it doesn't... Like, yeah, she gets grossed out by what he does, like... But she pretty easily gives in and starts killing people for him.
Yes, yeah.
In
the second movie, she is probably more manipulative and evil than he is.
Yeah. Like in the first, yeah. Like in the second, she's
feeding to come back.
Exactly. I know, she's awesome in the second one.
Yeah.
Like, that's a villain that I don't understand. Because in the first one, like, you're right. In the first one, she's evil and messed up. I don't know. Somehow is always kind of bothered me more, her in the first one, just because she's still human.
Yeah.
And yet she seduces these guys to have them brutally murdered. Like, I don't know. It's something about that. Because, like, in the second, she's basically a monster.
Yeah. Well, what I like about her is she's a real sort of fairy tale villain for me.
What do you mean?
Because if you think in the first movie, she's the wicked stepmother.
Yeah.
Because she's Kirsty's stepmom. And then in the second movie, she is she's the evil queen. You know? She wants to be queen of hell and she is a monster. And so it's a really sort of fairy tale villain in a horror.
Isn't that ironic how the things that scare us, like the tropes, never change?
No.
Like, you can use the same model for a villain or a hero that we were using in the Romans, The Romans were writing stories about their heroes and villains that are pretty much the same. They might have different makeup on, so to speak, but they're the same. I think that's so fascinating. It just shows you, like, how humans are humans.
Yeah. And I think the things that scare us are the things that have always scared us, really.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I listen to the Joe Rogan podcast a lot, and he talks about how the primitive man and, like, the things that scare us are always the same things, and the belief is it's because of our ancestry going back to huddling around a fire for survival, and the things that were lurking in the dark would kill us. Yeah. And so to this day, we still have those same primal fears inside of the thing that's in the dark beyond where the shine of the fire is.
Yeah. Yeah, the unknown.
Yep. And it's like, if you ever go camping, you hear any rustling or anything, your imagination immediately makes it a giant bear or some giant thing. It's like, it could be a squirrel, but your mind makes this little rustling outside of the fire that you can't see into this. Like, that's why the ocean, because when I was a kid, we would camp, but I was taught from the beginning to not be afraid of the camping element and animals, and I was taught really early on, because we literally were homeless and had to live camping for quite a while. Yeah. So I was taught right away, like, how to fish, how to hunt, how to survive in the woods for the most part. So I wasn't really afraid too much of what was beyond the fire. But the ocean, on the other hand, I was taught from the beginning, like, there are these big ass things that you cannot see. Be careful. Like, don't go out past this point. Like, so it's funny. Like, for me, the ocean is the thing that really gets me. I think because you can't see it at all either. It's like, I mean, I guess if you're in Hawaii or something tropical, you could see down. But all the oceans I've ever been in are cold and you can't see anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the ocean.
I am a fan of it as far as, like, the science and all of that. Yeah. But yeah, as far as, like, going out on a boat, man, it freaks me out. I'll do it, but it freaks me out. All right, so where were we at? So you were number 5?
Yeah, my number 5 was Julia Cotton.
Okay, that worked out good. So then it's back to me, and my number 5 is Ginger from Ginger Snaps, and I will admit,
why didn't I do that?
Really?
Yeah.
See, I thought it was ridiculous for putting her on there, because I'm like, she's not this iconic female villain or whatever, but she's got the things that I love the most in horror. Like, I absolutely love werewolves, and I love these strong, beautiful women that are fleshed out and interesting characters. Like, those two things I absolutely adore in horror movies, and she has those both so well. Yeah. On top of that, having that, in my late teens, early 20s when this movie came out, and I just had such a crush on her as well. Like, I just thought she was so gorgeous. And then also, she's just scary, because there's that idea of, here's this beautiful girl that you're just, like, wanting to follow into wherever she leads you, you know what I mean? But that you find out when you get there, she's got claws and big teeth and just bites your junk off or whatever. That's horrifying.
It is.
Anyway,
I love that movie, and yeah,
it is. I need to rewatch the other two, because I don't know if I've ever seen the third. Like, I know I've seen the second. That's the one where they're, like, out in the snow and whatnot, right?
The second one's the one that's set back in. The third one's the one that's set back in time.
Okay, so maybe I have seen the third.
The second one follows the sister.
Oh, is Ginger not in the second one?
She's in it, but only in a few scenes as a sort of vision that the sister has. So
that's why
imagination.
I think I remember watching the second and being like, "This is a pile of crap."
Yeah, I didn't enjoy the second one, but I did like.
Yeah, because I remember the second one being just kind of depressing and like a woe is me, because the other sister is always kind of just depressed and like, my life sucks, that kind of thing. So it's the third one, I think, that I remember, where they're both on this journey in the snow, and it's like in medieval times or whatever, or at least back in time or whatever. Anyway, okay, so what is your? Let's see. You already gave your number 5, so your number 4 was
Sadako from The Ring.
Okay.
So we've already had my number 5.
All right, so then we can come back to me, and that's my Pamela Voorhees, which I've already talked about. So then we would go to you and your number 4 or number 3.
My number 3 is Elizabeth Bathory, or the Countess Dracula from Hammer's Countess Dracula.
when I watched your list, I was curious because what movie are you referring to? Because as far as a mythical or as far as a historical figure, she's, if you believe the legends and stuff, she's terrifying. But what movie?
Countess Dracula.
That's like this 1970s movie, right?
1971, I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a Hammer movie.
Yeah. Okay. I haven't seen that in a long time. So explain then why. Sorry.
Well, it tells the story of Elizabeth, or at least the rumored story of Elizabeth Bathory, pretty faithfully. That she's this aging countess who basically kills and bathes in the blood of young women to try and restore her youth and beauty. And I mean, I included her because although it's a great film, she's just such an interesting historical character as well. But
yeah, the history of her is really interesting because depending on what accounts, there's more and more evidence coming out now that she was kind of set up, and that she may have never even been what she's accused of, and it was so that they could basically imprison her up in a tower to rot.
Well, you see, the thing is, after her husband died, she refused to remarry, which left her all of his money, all of his land.
Exactly.
And made her a very powerful woman at a time when, they didn't like powerful women.
Shit, most of history. I mean,
so
we're living in one of the only times where women can have power and we're okay with it.
Well, some are.
Yeah. I mean, as a whole, though.
Yeah. And there is a lot of evidence that, it was basically a way of getting rid of her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of more evidence coming out about that. But the actual stories are amazing, though. Like, it's really awesome.
If they're true, she's like one of history's most prolific serial killers.
Yeah.
They think there's at least 300.
Yeah. Well, they were saying there was a time when she would basically have a virgin a day.
Yeah.
She was having a full-time crew basically out scouting, trying to find her food, so to speak.
Yeah.
Although she bathed, they said she did drink some blood, right? But mostly she bathed in it because she believed it would make her younger and whatever.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think there's probably some truth to it, but I think it was probably also very much embellished in order to get what they wanted,
Yeah.
Either way, though, that's a good choice, though. It's just not one I would have thought of because I hadn't really seen that movie. I remember I was on a Hammer horror kick for a while, like 10 years ago or so, and I just the problem is I'll do that. I'll get on this binge and I'll just watch every day 2 or 3 movies of whatever, and then I won't remember them for shit. I mean, they get all mashed together, and that's why I've been trying to get better about taking notes now, so that at least I can kind of look and be like, okay, because right now I'm still trying to watch 2 movies a day. I try to watch 2 or 3 movies every day is just build that mental catalog. But
yeah, I try and watch as many as I can, but
it's rough. It gets to be a serious grind. So that's why I try to mix things together. I'll do different kinds of research. Some days I focus more on watching movies and taking notes, and then other days I do more research on YouTube and on how to do, how to talk on camera, how to not repeat the same phrases over and over, things like that. I'm trying to tame down my hands. I have the most wild hands.
With mine.
Yeah. I know that seems to be the struggle. People are either or. I see from what I've been seeing, it's either people don't move their hands at all, which they think you should move. They talk about most things that you should move your hands more, Yeah. But then there's overkill like me, who can't talk without my hands going. So I don't know. I don't know. I think the truth is just be you, and that's really what ends up ultimately working, is just being who you are. I've been watching Nimmons.
Nick Nimmons, yeah.
Well, Yeah, Nick Nimmons. I really like him as far as... If any of you guys are watching or trying to get a YouTube going, I highly recommend him from the jump. I think the biggest mistake I've made was doing a whole bunch of stuff on my own. And then a couple months later going, oh, I should probably find out about how to do this stuff. And now I'm having to kind of backtrack and read, you know. And like, I think my channel has been hurting in a lot of ways because of a bunch of stupid stuff I did because I didn't know any better.
Yeah, I think everyone does that, though. I think, you know, you've got to start, haven't you, really?
Yeah. All right, so Rachel is still hanging with us, and she says that I'm here. And then, let's see, she was a bitch from the start, sleeps with hundreds, brother, evil stepmother, then murderer, plus she snogs gooey Frank.
Yeah, must be Julia.
Oh, okay, she's talking about Julia. Yeah. That rug scene in Hellbound, though. So.
Yeah.
Thank you for hanging with Thank you for hanging with us, Rachel.
Yes, thank you.
My mouth is not wanting to cooperate.
So we're on your
all right, 3. So back on track. Where were we at?
I've done my number 3.
You did your number 3. That was Elizabeth Bathory, right? Yep. Okay, so then my number 3, and I think you have her too, and that's Annie Wilkes.
Yes, she's my number 1.
Did you have Annie? Number 1. Okay. So I guess we could just both knock her out since we're both here. I mean, she's amazing. Like, she isn't my number 1, but easily could have been. And you know why. Like, once we get to my number 1, you'll understand why she's not. But, I mean, there's just not, to me, a better... Like, if you were trying to learn how to do that kind of role, like you're a woman and wanting to do this crazy, losing your mind, fanatical, obsessive person, I would say, okay, watch that. I mean, it's literally, to me, the best that can be done in a movie. Well, yeah. And I mean, she got an Academy Award for it.
She won the Best Actress Oscar for it, didn't she?
Yeah. It's just, and as far as horror goes, I mean, you can count on one hand the amount of times anything horror related has won any legitimate Academy Award. You know, you don't see it.
What I really like about her is her character, her mental illnesses are really clear. She's clearly got some sort of bipolar disorder. Because, you know, there are days where she just won't speak. You know, she's really sort of down and everything's really slow. And then there's moments where she's utterly manic. And
which I think a lot of us can relate to that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I am bipolar, so...
Same here. Yeah.
And I think there's some sort of major sort of personality disorder there as well. You know, I just think it's because the reality of those illnesses is so obvious in the character, it makes her even more terrifying. She's so real, someone that could really be out there.
And as crazy as she is, you still find yourself, at least I did, feeling sympathy for her and being able to relate to her. Like, I've never been the super fanatical guy, like hunting down people for autographs or trying to meet people or whatever. That's never been that's just not me. Yeah. But I can relate to the obsession with, for me, it's success. Like, I obsess 24 hours a day on how to have whatever it is I'm trying to do. Like, and success always just seems to elude me, but it's an obsession for me. Like, I will do whatever it takes kind of thing. So I can understand that, where she takes everything so personally. Like, he's just trying to write a book, but she feels like literally he's attacking her. You know, he's killing parts of her. Right. Like, and so it's like, you can, even though you're like, dude, she's crazy and hurting him or whatever, you still feel like, I understand though. I understand why she's doing that.
Yeah, I mean, as a horror fan and almost a horror fanatic, when you see a remake of something you really like that is awful, it does hurt you personally. It does feel like a personal attack.
Very much. Like, ugh. I agree with you. It is painful. Ugh.
2010 Nightmare on Elm Street is like being beaten with a stick.
Oh my God. And I see people daily on these Facebook groups trying to defend that movie. And I'm like, man, there is nothing to defend with that. Like, as much as I disliked the most recent Chucky, what was it, 2018 or whatever, Child's Play?
Yeah.
As much as I dislike that, it at least had some qualities to me that felt like Child's Play, and I at least kind of understood where they were going, or what they were trying to do anyway.
Yeah.
There is, to me, that Nightmare on Elm Street, it literally takes a shit on the entire franchise.
Absolutely.
It turns him into something completely different from what Freddy is. Freddy is a killer, yeah, maybe even a child molester, horrible thing, whatever, but he's also fun. There's this funness, and it's why we love Freddy. That
movie is just so bleak.
Yeah, there's nothing fun about Freddy in that movie. Nothing. Ugh. Jeez, I get so angry about that movie.
Me too.
Man, like, not a lot of remakes make me as angry as that one, because to me it almost felt like it was an attack. Yeah, like an attack on what we love.
Annie Wilkes.
Exactly. And that's just, it just goes to show what a brilliant story that is by Stephen King, and then how brilliant the acting, because he also is a huge part of it too, because, and I don't think a lot of people talk about that, you know, kind of everybody talks about Annie Wilkes in this movie, and justly so, but I feel like without his character to kind of like offset that, like even when I was editing this video and I was cutting up the clips or whatever, even the reaction on his face sold it so much. Like it also made you feel torn. Like each scene, you could feel a part of you being him and a part of you being her. Yeah. And it just made that dynamic so powerful.
I mean, they were both absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So what are we at? Number 2, right?
Yes.
Are we both at 2?
Yeah. Well, this will be my last one because I am at number 2, and that was my number 1. So,
there isn't anything we've skipped of yours?
No. I've got a few honourable mentions though.
Okay, let's save your one and my one. So do your honorable mentions, then I'll do my number 2, then we'll come back to you for one and me for one.
Okay, well...
okay, so let's do your honorable mentions real quick.
My honorable mentions were Regan McNeil from The Exorcist. Mm-hmm. Obviously, terrifying character, but really, Regan was the victim. Even more so than Carrie. Yeah. And she didn't really kill anyone either. So I feel like that also separates her from Carrie. Yeah. Oh, except for the director, I think. Didn't she kill him? That's what I was just trying to remember. Yeah, I think she does kill the guy who's directing the movie her mum's in. Or at least the implication is that she did. Okay. I don't remember. That's strange that I don't remember. You don't see it, but the implication is that she did. Yeah, I think you're right. But anyway, she just feels different somehow than Carrie. Really include her, but it's a great movie, Monster. Yeah, definitely. Reagan. And the other one, I think, is on your list. My other honourable mention. Oh, as my okay. So is that it then? Yep. All right. So my number 2 is the Queen Xenomorph from Aliens. Yeah, was that your honourable mention? Yeah, that was my other honourable mention. Yeah, I felt like it's very debatable to put her on here, and I had an honorable mention that I was really kicking myself that I didn't put on here, and that was Christine. Yeah, Christine as well. I'm the same. So as soon as someone, because I was like, I love the idea. Christine on one of the posts, didn't they? And it was like, yeah, why didn't I think of that? Yeah, a really good friend of mine, and I was like, how did I not think of that? Because I love the idea of something that it's still female, but yet. So it just kind of still fits, but it's kind of like not huge, pushing the boundaries a little. Like I liked the idea of that, and that was why I put the Queen from Aliens. But just as an artist and doing art for forever, the design of the Xenomorphs is just. Anytime I get a chance to kind of like talk about that, I do, because it just.
you'd be hard pressed to find anything that is more creative and terrifying and like just that checks all the categories, so to speak, of what you want in a horror monster.
But they're also strangely beautiful.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like there's this amazing artistic design to the way that, and you've seen a lot of other things since then kind of borrow from it.
Yeah.
But if you think about when those were created, what did we have that was even remotely close to looking like those, especially in a movie?
Nothing.
No. I mean, because as far as if you're a painter or drawing or whatever, yes, there are things you could borrow from, and like, you know, everything from in the 1920s and the different stuff that Dali did, or, you know, I'm trying to get too much into art, but as far as something that was three-dimensionally designed that also could move and function and then look like a real living creature, it just was completely out of this world. Yeah. It broke everything that had ever been done for a creature in a movie.
Absolutely.
So, like I said, anytime I can mention them, and then to me, The Queen, it just was like, okay, we got this second movie. How can we make this bigger, badder, scarier? Bam. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I think that The Queen, you know, she has this sort of, you know, maternal instinct when Ripley fries the eggs, you know, and that's what leads to the showdown with her and Ripley, like the two
exactly, because Ripley, exactly. I talked about that in my video, and like that was so beautifully done and so important because it made Ripley defending that little girl who was basically representing her daughter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Newt or whatever. It made that feel so much more dynamic and larger than life, and just, you know what I mean? It was like these two equals, mono and mono. You know, you had the most badass woman you had ever seen in a movie, you know, against the most badass creature you'd ever seen in a movie.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah, love it. So good. All right, so with that, we get to our number ones. So what is your number one?
Well, my number one was Annie Wilkes, but we will go for number two, which was...
So your substitute number one.
Which is Rose the Hat from Dr. Sleep.
Oh, that was the one. That was the one. I was trying to remember while we were doing this list. I was like, there's one I meant to put that forgot and was so angry. So before you continue saying why, I just want to tell you, big props, because she would most definitely have been on my list and really high up in my list if I hadn't have totally brain farted.
Yeah.
But why is she on your list?
Well, I mean, I've read the book and seen the film, and firstly, Rebecca Ferguson's performance of the character, it's like she's literally just stepped off the page of the book into the film.
Yeah.
She is perfect. But she's this amazing blend of things, isn't she? She's sort of got this ethereal sort of beauty and presence, and this softness, especially when she's dealing with members of her own group. But then she's also got this, I mean, that scene where they kill the boy is one of the most brutal and harrowing things I've seen in years.
And that's what's so amazing about that movie, but her especially, is like you said, it's like she seduces you in this movie, because you're just like, she's not only beautiful, but there's this soft way about her that just seduces you into just really enjoying this character.
Yeah.
And then she does the most vicious, brutal thing you can imagine. And it just, to me, made that scene that much more confusing and powerful and horrifying. It's seriously one of the most horrifying scenes I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah, it is. I remember reading that, like, she actually broke down crying after doing that scene because, you know.
I believe it. She really nails that.
Whereas the kid who was doing the equally brilliant job of acting, being terrified and in pain, apparently he got up and went, "Can I have some ice cream now?"
Yep.
And but
which is good. I like to hear that, because I always worry about kids in these movies, and like, you know, you hate to think like Reagan.
Yeah.
You know, you hear these stories about she had like a broken rib after that scene in Exorcist.
Apparently he was absolutely fine, but it really shook Rebecca Ferguson, who plays Rose the Hat.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just
Yeah.
it's a mesmerizing performance. You know, she's sort of hypnotic.
It's so good. That movie in general is so good.
Yeah.
And it's really sad to me that I think it's completely the fault of the promotion department behind that movie.
Yeah.
Because they should have been screaming from the rooftops, this is The Shining 2.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I know to this day, I talk to people that are like, what? There was a sequel to The Shining?
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing. Everything from even the cover art, like everything, they didn't make it really clear to you, like, hey, this is the sequel. And it very much should have been, flaunted as that, because it is. It's very much the sequel.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's such a good film. I mean, I love Mike Flanagan.
It is.
Mike Flanagan's film.
Me too.
Anyway. But
yeah, I honestly don't think you could have done a better job with the sequel.
No, I mean, everything about it. Ewan McGregor as Dan is perfect. He's got this sort of likability, but he does the sort of
there's this
darkness to it as well.
And there's this weird boyishness
Yeah.
to his character, where it's like he does these awful things and stuff, but yet it's like you can feel almost like he never grew up. He never got past the trauma of what happened to him as a kid.
That's right.
It's like he's still trapped and stuck in that time. It's a beautifully done movie that I think in time will be eventually thought of as the true sequel to The Shining, and be real, especially because Flanagan's name is getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And so it's like more and more people are going to make sure they see everything that he's involved in, and
Yeah, I mean, the guy hasn't done a bad movie or anything.
No, it's really, really good. All right, so then that's up to me at my number one, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and mine is Margaret White, who is the mother in the film Carrie.
Yep.
And I am more specifically talking about the original. I feel like I wish I had written down the name of the actress because I forget her name off the top of my head. But
Piper Laurie.
Yes, thank you. She sells it better than any of the other. Like, I feel like the other Carries, they focus more on Carrie and they don't focus a lot on the mom. No. Like, just not as much.
Who was it in the most recent one? It was Julianne Moore, wasn't it?
Yeah, which was done good. Like I did like that version. It was actually pretty good. Like, I think it got more hate than it deserved. But I feel like a lot of times they just keep trying to remake these masterpieces, and it's like, why you wouldn't remake Jaws? Why do you remake Carrie? Like, you're never gonna do a remake that is, because there's so much that goes into a legendary movie like that.
Yeah.
Because of when it was made, the effect that it had on film in general, and all these things. You can't do that. So when you remake it, it could be just a masterpiece and still not get the credit, because it's like, of the shadow of what it's trying to live up to is impossible. It's, it's that whole thing of making something mythical, like a mythical, like the way people talk about like a famous athlete from the 1950s or 60s or whatever. And you're like, Michael Jordan could run circles around that guy. Or you even see that now with people like, with LeBron versus Michael Jordan. Like, LeBron, there's no way he could hold a candle to Michael Jordan. That's Michael Jordan. And it's like, dude, in reality, he could probably school Michael Jordan. Like, you know what I mean? But you're never going to get out of the shadow of that mythical being, because they were the first to ever do that thing, to be that iconic. Anyway, so that's why I'm picking her. But then more specifically, there's never been a character in a movie, or honestly even a book or anything, that's affected me as deeply as this character. And like I said, while I was editing, like I said earlier in this stream, while I was editing and I had to go over these scenes over and over, trying to pick out the right scenes that I wanted to use in my video, it's just so haunting, because I legitimately feel in the shoes of Carrie. I can very clearly remember my mom saying the exact type of things to me with the same amount of insanity and rage blended, like, and just my spirit being crushed over and over.
Yeah.
And yet being completely convinced that she was basically a Christ-like figure and that I was scum sort of thing because this godlike figure was telling me something and I couldn't obey. I couldn't be what she wanted me to be.
Yeah.
And like you could see that in this movie. You could see that in her, because it's like you see Carrie knowing what she wants, but also feeling so apologetic for even having those feelings because her mom has her so convinced that she's this higher authority.
Yeah, I mean, it is a brilliant portrayal of sort of religious fanaticism, isn't it?
Favor, yeah.
Yeah. How people use that to control other people. And
yeah, like I said in my video, like, it's people will take religion and use it as a weapon for hate.
Yeah.
You know, for a way to divide people. You know, it's like you see it all the time, and it's why I personally hate religion. And it's not that, like, the truth is, it's not that I actually hate the religion itself, the belief itself. It's that I hate what people do with religion all over the world. You know, you see people literally die every second of every day because they believe a little different from somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, it's don't suppose we should really quote Marilyn Manson lyrics at the moment, but he did he did have a great lyric about that. It was I never really hated a one true God, just the God of the people I hated.
Yeah,
you know,
100%. Because if you look at a lot of religions, and I'm starting to get really off subject, but if you look at a lot of religions, they're beautiful, man.
Yeah,
like there's love and beauty in it. You look at Muslim, Christianity, Buddhism, like all these different great belief systems throughout history. If you boil them down, they're generally a beautiful belief that is about coming together as people. But yet somehow people find a way to take these and twist them and skew them. And like I said, turn it into a weapon to attack others. And that's what my mom did. And abused me and my sisters very, very, very badly. Our whole lives growing up, and I haven't seen her, and I haven't seen my dad in like over 20 years now, but it's like she's still in there, you know, in the back of my head. And when I see a role like that, it just
that's
very, very powerful.
The damage these people do, it just stays with you for.
Yep. Yeah, Rachel's still hanging with us, so let's see, go back to her a little bit. The mother from People Under the Stairs,
that's a good
has been an honorable mention. Yeah, I need to rewatch that movie. It's been too long. I don't remember it for the most part. And a friend of mine keeps, every time I post anything, he's like, "The People Under the Stairs." I'm like, damn it, I need it. He just loves that movie because it was one he grew up. Like for me, it's Pet Sematary.
Yeah,
was like the first legit. Like I had seen Jurassic Park and a few other things growing up. Like I think I even saw the It miniseries. But as far as the first horror movie that I remember seeing all by myself that really affected me, it was the original Pet Sematary. And so I guess People Under the Stairs is kind of that for him. So he's always mentioning it. All right, let's see what else she wrote. Rose the Hat is such a good shout out. And then she wrote, I got choked by you explaining your number one choice. Oh, I guess she's not saying it in a funny way. I found it really upsetting. No disrespect to you at all. I emphasize greatly, which is why I'm going now. This was a great chat, guys. Loved it. Well, thank you for hanging with us this whole time. So, alrighty. Well, I guess that is gonna just about wrap it up. If anybody else has any questions, send them over real quick, and we'll try to answer them. But that is our list.
That is. But we need.
Is there anything else you wanted to mention or promote or whatever?
I just think that, you know, the world needs more female villains, just like it needs more heroines in horror. We need more female villains, definitely.
100%, definitely. Like, I love though that for the first time it feels like the opportunities are out there though.
Yeah.
Like if you're a young woman getting into making films and whatnot, you actually have a chance now to get your projects made and stuff. And it's not perfect by any means. It's not even close to where it even needs to be. But the fact that it's at least not like a closed door.
Yeah, I mean, I have seen some great female, women-directed horror movies recently with pretty much only women in them.
Yeah.
I mean, Saint Maud is fantastic, but I couldn't pick that one because there isn't really a villain in Saint Maud. You know, the villain and the victim are basically the same thing. So
I still need to see that. I think I'll watch that tonight. I just didn't want to spend I just hadn't wanted to spend the money because you got to get the app, I think.
Yeah.
Like, are you able to rent it over there?
Yeah, I rented it off Amazon.
Yeah, we can't rent it here. You have to sign up for, I forget which platform. It's one of, like, the newer streaming platforms.
Oh, right.
So it's like I think it may be Paramount or, I don't know. It's one of the newer ones. And I already have so many. I have like a dozen different streaming. Like I just got Discovery Plus, which is outstanding. Like if you like documentary and like,
yeah.
Like I love the show Mythbusters. Have you ever watched that?
Yes, yeah.
Like I love Mythbusters, and they literally have every single Mythbusters episode from all 15 seasons or whatever.
Oh wow! I have been tempted by Discovery Plus, I have to say.
Yeah, and it's only like $4.99 a month, I think. And then if you want it without commercials, it's like $7.99. But if you're fine with a little bit of commercials, it's like $4.99. So it's one of the more affordable. But I was amazed on how deep it is. I mean, it has so many things because it's got shows like Dirty Jobs and Mythbusters and like the shows that aren't really on anymore, like what are the fishing shows? Anyway, it has like that stuff, and it has like every episode from those. But then it also has all these new shows that are only on there, but that are just as good. And then it has a bunch of new shows that I haven't seen because I don't have Discovery Channel because I don't have cable. So it's like a really good mixture of a lot of stuff. And I love true crime, like true crime.
Yeah, I love true crime.
And it is by far the deepest. That's actually why I got it. It has the deepest everything from TV shows to documentaries on true crime. Like it has everything, and so much better than any of the other streaming platforms when it comes to that. Yeah. Although I just discovered that Tubi actually has a decent amount of true crime stuff. Yeah. Surprisingly. Yeah. Like, do you have Tubi?
No, it's very difficult to get over here.
Really? That sucks. Because it's like it's just a free streaming service. It has commercials, but like it's totally free. And it has like, it doesn't have any big name stuff really, but it has tons of like smaller stuff. I don't know. It's hard to explain it, but it actually, I mean, because you've seen my Tubi list that I put out, like that sucks. I wonder if you can get it with a VPN.
Possibly. I keep trying to sort out a VPN, but it doesn't work very well.
Because that's how I know a friend of mine in Australia, I think she's in Australia, wasn't able to get Shudder, but then I told her to try getting a VPN, and now she's able to get it.
Yeah. So
I don't know. I haven't tried to get a VPN yet, so I don't know how exactly to set it up. But I know that if you set it up right, like I think Surfshark is one I've heard a lot of people having success with. But if you set it up right, you can switch which country you're in, which will allow you to get and use, because all of these are just an app anyway. Like anybody can download it, but it's like it only will work in certain countries.
Yeah.
So I don't know. All right. Let's see. All right. Looks like we got just about nobody else watching, so it's a good time to wrap up. All right, man. It was good talking to you. And thank you, everybody, for watching this. And make sure you go over to Everything Fear and check out his videos. And then also keep tuned here because, like always, I'm going to drop at least 2 videos every week. We'll see